There is a moment each day when the world has not yet touched you. No demands, no noise, no obligations pulling at your mind. Just a thin, sacred silence between who you were yesterday and who you could become today. This moment is the first hour after waking. Most overlook it. They rush through it half-conscious, distracted, or already defeated. But the Stoics knew that this hour is the hinge upon which the entire day turns. The mind is impressionable, the nervous system is calibrating, and your identity is still fluid enough to be shaped with intention. Before the world reaches you, you reach yourself. Before the day claims your attention, you decide what your attention belongs to. Marcus Aurelius began every morning by preparing his mind for the trials ahead. Seneca advised examining one's intentions before action. Epictetus taught that the very first thoughts of the day determine whether you rule yourself or remain ruled by impulse. Modern neuroscience now explains why. During the first hour after waking, cortisol rises naturally to activate the brain. Dopamine pathways reset to establish the motivation and reward patterns of the day. Light exposure signals the circadian system, influencing energy, focus, and mood. The mind is open, the brain is impressionable, and the self is still being assembled. If you do not claim this hour with discipline, distraction will claim it for you, and what you allow to shape this hour will echo through every decision that follows. The first thoughts you entertain create the frame through which you interpret the world. The first actions you take establish momentum. The first emotions you permit become the lens that colors the rest of your day. Your morning is your battlefield. Conquer it, and the rest follows. This is not a motivational slogan. It is a law of human psychology and a truth of ancient philosophy. The first hour is not just a routine, it is alignment, it is self-command. It is the reawakening of the ruling faculty. It is where clarity begins and where chaos can be prevented. It is the hour that shapes the posture of your soul. The Stoics understood that if you win the morning, you win the day. And if you win enough mornings, you win a life. Now we step into the heart of this principle, beginning with the mind that awakens and the authority it must reclaim. The morning mind. Awakening the ruling faculty. The moment you open your eyes, your ruling faculty awakens with you. The Stoics called it the hegemonikon, the inner commander, responsible for judgment, intention, and action. It is the part of you that decides what to follow and what to resist, what deserves your attention and what must be ignored. Most people never notice this awakening. They rise and immediately surrender it to their phone, to their worries, to their impulses. But the first minutes of consciousness reveal the truth of self-governance. Either you rise as a commander or you rise as a captive. Modern neuroscience aligns perfectly with this ancient insight. In the first hour after waking, the brain moves through a delicate transition. Cortisol peaks naturally, not as a stress response, but as an activation signal. It sharpens alertness, primes focus, and prepares the prefrontal cortex to take control. If you squander this moment with instant distractions, you disrupt this natural rhythm, hijacking the chemistry that was designed to empower you. The prefrontal cortex, the throne of discipline, is highly impressionable during this period. The thoughts you choose in the first minutes of the morning set the cognitive tone for the rest of the day. If your first input is noise, your mind becomes noisy. If your first input is urgency, your mind becomes frantic. If your first input is intention, your mind becomes centered and sovereign. Andrew Huberman emphasizes the importance of morning light exposure for stabilizing dopamine levels and strengthening mood regulation. When the eyes receive natural light early in the day, the brain receives a signal: prepare for action, stabilize motivation, anchor the circadian rhythm. The Stoics didn't know the term circadian rhythm, but they understood the principle. They exposed their minds to clarity before exposing them to the world. The morning is not simply the beginning of a day. It is the resetting of your hierarchy of values. Before you step into the external world, you decide what internal world you will inhabit. Will you rise as someone who reacts to life or someone who shapes it? Will you let emotions lead, or will you establish command before emotion even enters the field? How you rise determines how you rule. This is the first truth of the first hour. And once you understand it, you begin to see everything that threatens this sovereignty, all the forces waiting to ambush your clarity the moment you let your guard down. The ambush of distraction. Why the morning is under attack. The moment you wake, your mind stands unarmored. The ruling faculty is awake, but still fragile. Your nervous system is calibrating. Your attention is unclaimed. This is precisely why the modern world attacks your morning first. The ambush is subtle, instantaneous, and devastatingly effective. One notification, one message, one glance at a feed, and the first battle of the day is already lost. Distraction is not passive. It is predatory. It waits for the unguarded moment when the mind is most impressionable. Seneca warned that those who allow themselves to be pulled in every direction cannot possibly live with intention. He understood long before neuroscience existed that a distracted mind cannot govern itself. Today, Daniel Goleman gives the phenomenon a name: the attentional hijack. When you reach for your phone the moment you wake, your emotional circuits activate before your rational circuits can come online. Dopamine spikes artificially, fragmenting focus. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of discipline, is bypassed before it even enters the arena. This is why the first minute is so dangerous. The brain is scanning for cues that determine the tone of the day. If the first cue is chaos, chaos becomes your baseline. If the first cue is urgency, the nervous system shifts into a reactive state. If the first cue is comparison, insecurity colors every decision. You are no longer rising into your own day. You are rising into someone else's. The Stoics understood distraction as the enemy of self-command. They believed that a person ruled by impulses is incapable of ruling anything else, not their emotions, not their attention, not their life. The ambush of the morning is not about technology. It is about surrendering the most powerful hour of your existence to forces that do not have your best interests in mind. Your first minute is a door. Walk through it consciously, and you enter your own life. Stumble through it unconsciously, and you enter a life that reacts, chases, and collapses under the influence of others. This is why distraction attacks early, because early victories snowball, and so do early defeats. But the moment you recognize the ambush, you become capable of countering it. If distraction is the first enemy of the morning, then intention must be the first shield. Your day will not begin with clarity by accident. It must be constructed. Now the path turns toward the practices that give shape to the morning, anchoring the ruling faculty before the world has a chance to claim it. The ritual of alignment, building the first hour with purpose. A first hour without intention becomes a battlefield without strategy. The world enters too quickly, emotions rise too easily, and attention fractures before it has the chance to stabilize. But when the morning begins with ritual, something powerful happens. You step into the day as an architect, not a passenger. Ritual is not superstition. It is alignment, the conscious ordering of the inner world before the outer world makes its demands. The Stoics began their mornings with practices designed to shape their state of mind long before they encountered difficulty. They practiced premeditatio, envisioning the obstacles ahead so that adversity would not surprise them. They journaled to clarify their values and strengthen their judgment. They breathed deeply to settle the nervous system. They reminded themselves of virtue so that their actions would reflect intention rather than impulse. These were not grand gestures. They were calibrations, subtle, deliberate movements that prepared the mind for the weight of the day. Modern neuroscience now validates what the Stoics practiced intuitively. The brain is highly malleable in the early hours. Neuroplasticity peaks when the mind is focused, calm, and exposed to meaningful repetition. A morning ritual primes attention by giving it direction. It strengthens autonomic regulation by practicing breath work that stabilizes heart rate and increases vagal tone. It establishes emotional equilibrium by grounding the mind in reflection instead of reactivity. Light exposure amplifies this effect. When you step into natural light within the first hour, you trigger the body's biological clock, increase alertness, and stabilize dopamine levels for the rest of the day. Breathwork amplifies it further, lowering stress chemistry and shifting the nervous system from survival into clarity. Silence completes this foundation, allowing space for the ruling faculty to speak before the world interrupts. A ritual is not about optimization, it is about authorship. It is the moment when you choose who you are before the day tries to choose for you. It is the creation of a mental sanctuary, a place where your identity is reinforced, your intentions are clarified, and your emotions are guided rather than unleashed. From ritual comes rhythm, a rhythm that carries into the hours ahead, affecting every decision, every reaction, every moment of challenge. When you begin with alignment, you move through the day with a coherence that chaos cannot easily dismantle. But alignment alone is not enough. It must be followed by action, small victories that solidify momentum and define the identity you are choosing to embody. Now, the journey turns toward momentum, and how early triumphs shape the chemistry of the entire day. Momentum of mastery, how early wins shape the brain. Momentum is not an accident. It is engineered through the first decisions you make, while the mind is still forming its emotional and cognitive posture for the day. What you choose in the earliest moments becomes a signal to your brain. This is who we are. This is what we follow. This is the kind of life we build. Small victories compound into identity, and identity becomes destiny. The Stoics understood this long before neuroscience gave us the language to explain it. They believed that virtue was not a belief, but a practice, and that character was shaped by repeated action. Musonius Rufus taught that discipline must be trained the way the body is trained, through discomfort, repetition, and deliberate exposure to challenge. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed by the color of its habits. These teachings were not philosophical poetry. They were psychological strategy. Modern science now explains why early wins carry disproportionate weight. When you begin the day with a meaningful action, hydration, cold exposure, a short workout, focused breathing, or a period of undistracted work, you trigger a cascade of neurochemical reinforcement. Dopamine levels rise not because the task is pleasurable, but because the brain recognizes effort aligned with intention. The struggle itself becomes the source of reward. Huberman describes this as friction-based dopamine. The more challenging the action and the more willingly you engage with it, the stronger the imprint on the neural circuits responsible for discipline. A difficult task performed early sends a powerful message to the nervous system. We act with purpose, even when resistance appears. The brain internalizes this message and applies it repeatedly throughout the day, making disciplined choices easier and impulsive reactions weaker. Momentum is not motivational, it is neurological. Once the brain locks onto a direction, it seeks consistency. If your first actions are marked by order, your mind becomes orderly. If they are marked by laziness, your mind gravitates toward comfort. The first victories establish the rhythm of the entire day. They turn intention into action, and action into identity. Jordan Peterson often speaks of how responsibility generates meaning. Neuroscience supports this. When you voluntarily take on a task, your brain increases norepinephrine and dopamine, enhancing focus, motivation, and internal coherence. Meaning is not found by waiting. It is created by choosing responsibility early and letting the chemistry follow. This is why the morning is sacred. Early wins do more than move you forward. They signal to your deepest psychological layers that you are in command. They build a narrative of capability that echoes through decisions you make hours later. A disciplined morning becomes a disciplined afternoon, which becomes a disciplined evening, which becomes a disciplined life. Yet momentum alone cannot carry you through the storms that will inevitably come. The day will still test you, emotions will still rise, distractions will still ambush you. To withstand them, you must build not just momentum, but emotional armor. Now the path leads to stability, the shield that guards the mind for the hours ahead. The Stoic shield, guarding emotional stability for the hours ahead. A strong morning does more than create momentum. It creates armor. The hours ahead will not be peaceful. They never are. Unexpected challenges, shifting moods, friction with others, internal doubt, all of it arrives unannounced. But when the first hour is trained with intention, your nervous system carries the imprint of calm into every encounter that follows. This becomes the Stoic shield, emotional stability forged before the day can threaten it. The Stoics understood emotional sovereignty as the core of freedom. To remain steady while others shake, to see clearly while others react, to choose action over impulse. This is what separated the philosopher from the captive. They pursued apatheia, not as apathy, but as clarity, a mind that remains untouched by the distortions of unregulated emotions. And while they spoke of virtue and character, modern neuroscience now reveals the biological foundation beneath their insights. Morning regulation increases vagal tone, strengthening the parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for calm, control, and resilience. Breath control lowers sympathetic activation, preventing reactive spikes of fear, anger, or anxiety. Light exposure stabilizes serotonin pathways, improving mood and emotional forecasting. When these elements are practiced in the first hour, the brain shifts from survival reactivity to strategic response mode. This shift creates cognitive distance, the space between emotion and action that the Stoics considered sacred. In this space, anger becomes information rather than a command. Fear becomes preparation rather than paralysis. Discomfort becomes an invitation to grow rather than a threat to avoid. You move through the day with a steady perception, reducing the emotional whiplash that derails most people before lunchtime. A well-governed morning also weakens the influence of external chaos. When you begin with intention, the noise of the world loses its authority. Insults feel lighter. Problems feel solvable. Urgency loses its grip. Your mind is no longer a stage for every passing stimulus. It becomes a fortified citadel that chooses what enters and what passes through untouched. This is the Stoic shield, a morning that prepares you not for comfort, but for clarity, not for ease, but for mastery, not for the absence of storms, but for the confidence that no storm can dominate a mind that has already established sovereignty. Now we arrive at the final realization. The first hour is not simply a tool for productivity or discipline. It is a template for destiny, a small version of the larger life you are building. And within that hour lies the blueprint for identity, purpose, and the future you are quietly constructing. Destiny in the first light. The day you choose before the world chooses you. Every life is shaped by patterns. What you repeat becomes who you are, and who you are determines the fate you meet. Most people imagine destiny as something distant, shaped by great events or dramatic turning points, but destiny is quieter than that. It begins in the smallest of rituals, in the subtle shaping of identity, in the choices you make before the world makes choices for you. Destiny begins in the morning. The Stoics believed that fate was not a chain but a path. They taught that although you cannot control every event, you can control the posture with which you meet those events. And that posture is established early, when the mind is still untouched, when emotion has not yet risen, when the world has not yet made its demands. Modern psychology now confirms this ancient truth. The patterns of the first hour set the tone for cognitive bias, emotional regulation, motivation, and behavioral momentum. Jordan Peterson speaks of the importance of ordering your inner world before attempting to confront the external one. The brain agrees. When you approach your morning consciously, the prefrontal cortex strengthens its command role, shaping decisions through intention rather than impulse. Dopamine pathways calibrate around self-directed action rather than distraction-driven spikes. Stress chemistry lowers, sensory processing sharpens, and the nervous system prepares for resilience rather than reactivity. This is why a single hour holds disproportionate influence. It is not just part of the day, it is the blueprint of the day. A morning lived in discipline becomes a day lived in discipline. A morning consumed by distraction becomes a day fractured by impulse. A morning filled with alignment becomes a day guided by clarity and purpose. The pattern repeats until it becomes a personality. The personality repeats until it becomes a destiny. The anchor phrase speaks the truth with absolute clarity. Your morning is your battlefield. Conquer it, and the rest follows. The first hour is a meeting point between who you were and who you decide to become. Each choice is a vote for the future self you are building. Each small discipline is a thread woven into the fabric of your character. Each moment of intention is a quiet declaration. I will not be ruled by circumstance or emotion. I will rule myself. When you understand this, the morning stops feeling like routine and starts feeling like authorship. You are not waking up to another day. You are waking up to an opportunity to shape the person who will meet that day. You are stepping into the first light, not as a spectator, but as the architect of a life lived with discipline, purpose, and sovereignty. Now, all that remains is the final reflection. The quiet moment where the lesson becomes a vow and the morning becomes a sacred act of self-mastery. Meditative. Final reflection. The hour that belongs only to you. There is a moment each morning that the world cannot touch. A moment before the noise, before the demands, before the weight of responsibilities returns to your shoulders. In that quiet space, you stand at the threshold between two lives. One is ruled by impulse, distraction, and the chaotic pull of the day ahead. The other is shaped by intention, clarity, and the steady discipline of a mind that chooses to lead rather than follow. That moment is the first hour, and it belongs only to you. You do not control the hours the world will steal from you. They will be taken by work, by obligation, by unexpected challenges, by the thousand small frictions that accumulate in a single day. You cannot prevent this, but you can choose what you give yourself before the world arrives. You can choose the rhythm of your breath, the stillness of your thoughts, the direction of your attention, the tone of your internal world. You can choose to rise with purpose rather than drift into the day half awake. The Stoics lived with this awareness. They began their mornings with reflection because they knew the day would test them. They fortified their minds before stepping into the world because they understood that the first battle is always internal. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, reminding his mind of the character he intended to embody. Seneca warned that a day without preparation collapses easily under pressure. Epictetus taught that the morning is the moment to choose who you wish to be before life chooses for you. They were not preparing for comfort, they were preparing for clarity. Modern neuroscience confirms the wisdom hidden in their ancient rituals. In the early moments after waking, the brain is impressionable, hungry for direction. Hormones stabilize, neurotransmitters recalibrate, and neural circuits become receptive to whatever pattern you offer them. If you offer chaos, chaos becomes your baseline. If you offer distraction, distraction becomes your reflex. But if you offer intention, the mind aligns around it. If you offer discipline, the mind strengthens it. If you offer silence, the mind expands within it. This hour is not small, it is not insignificant, it is not just routine, it is the foundation upon which every other decision rests. The first hour defines the next 23. It shapes the way you perceive challenge, how you respond to adversity, how you regulate emotion, how you carry yourself through stress, how you interpret the world, and ultimately how you shape your destiny. You are not simply waking up. You are choosing the direction of your life in miniature. You are practicing in 1 hour the discipline that will echo through your character. You are creating the kind of mind that does not collapse under storms because it has already built its stillness. You are teaching your brain who is in command, and it listens. In conclusion, remember this truth with absolute clarity. You do not control everything that happens today, but you control how you enter the day. Win that hour, and you win the day. Win enough days, and you win the life you are meant to live. Your morning is your battlefield. Your first breath is your weapon. Your day is your empire.